I can't provide a script that imitates Chase Hughes's exact living author style. I can, however, create an original script that captures some high-level characteristics, often associated with that type of content. Observational, psychologically focused, behavior analysis-driven, persuasive, and introspective. Most people assume that if someone has very few friends, something must be wrong. Maybe they're antisocial. Maybe they're awkward. Maybe they don't know how to connect. Maybe they're difficult to be around. That's the standard explanation. And sometimes it's true. But there is another category of people that often gets misunderstood. These are individuals who seem capable of connecting with others, yet they still maintain an unusually small social circle. They can hold conversations. They can read people. They can understand emotions. They can navigate social situations when necessary. Yet somehow, their friend group remains extremely small. In many cases, these individuals identify as highly empathic, not because they possess supernatural abilities, not because they can read minds, but because they process emotional information at a deeper level than most people around them. The first trait you'll notice is that they become exhausted by superficial interactions. Most people can spend hours discussing topics that carry little emotional significance. Sports scores, celebrity gossip, office politics, the same stories repeated over and over again. For many empaths, these interactions feel mentally draining. It's not that they dislike people, it's that their minds naturally search for depth. They want to understand motivations, patterns, experiences, beliefs, fears, dreams, the hidden structure beneath human behavior. When a conversation remains on the surface for too long, their attention begins to disappear. They may remain physically present, but mentally, they're gone. Over time, this creates an unusual problem. Most social environments are built around low-risk conversation. Most people use small talk as a social bridge. Empaths often view it as a barrier. As a result, they may participate less frequently. Not because they can't connect, because they struggle to find meaning in interactions that feel emotionally empty. Another common trait is that they notice inconsistencies quickly. Most people evaluate others primarily through words. Empaths tend to evaluate people through patterns. Someone says one thing, then does another. Most people overlook it. The empath notices immediately. Someone presents themselves as kind, but consistently behaves selfishly. The empath notices. Someone claims confidence, yet constantly seeks validation. The empath notices. This ability sounds useful, and often it is, but it comes with a cost. The more accurately you perceive contradictions, the harder it becomes to maintain shallow relationships. Many friendships survive because people ignore certain realities. Empaths often struggle to do that. Once they recognize a pattern, they cannot unsee it. This naturally reduces the number of relationships they maintain, not because they judge everyone, because they value authenticity. And authenticity becomes difficult to fake around someone who constantly notices behavioral inconsistencies. A third trait is selective trust. Many highly empathic individuals appear open, but underneath that openness is an extremely careful filtering system. They observe before they reveal. They listen before they share. They study before they commit. This sometimes surprises people. Others assume empaths instantly connect with everyone. The reality is often the opposite. Because they are highly sensitive to emotional consequences, they become cautious about who gains access to their inner world. They know what betrayal feels like. They know what manipulation feels like. They know what emotional exhaustion feels like. As a result, trust becomes valuable, not automatic. This creates a situation where hundreds of people may know them, but very few people truly know them. The next trait is an unusual relationship with solitude. Many people confuse solitude with loneliness. They are not the same thing. Loneliness is the pain of disconnection. Solitude is the enjoyment of your own company. Many empaths develop a strong relationship with solitude because it allows emotional recovery. Every social interaction requires processing. Every environment contains information. Every conversation contains signals. Every person broadcasts emotional data. Most people filter much of this automatically. Empaths often absorb more of it. After prolonged exposure, they need space. Not because they hate people, because their nervous system requires recalibration. This is one reason some empaths appear distant. In reality, they are recovering. Their isolation is not rejection. It is restoration. Another trait is that they become uncomfortable around performative behavior. You have probably seen this countless times. Someone enters a room and immediately begins managing impressions. Every story is exaggerated. Every achievement is amplified. Every interaction becomes a performance. Many people accept this as normal social behavior. Empaths often experience an immediate sense of discomfort, not because performance is evil, because it creates distance from authenticity. The empath is usually searching for something real, something honest, something genuine. When everything feels scripted, exaggerated, or strategically presented, their interest declines rapidly. This reduces social opportunities because modern social environments often reward performance. The empath frequently prefers sincerity over popularity. That preference naturally shrinks the social circle. One of the most misunderstood traits is emotional independence. Many people form friendships primarily to meet emotional needs. They seek reassurance, validation, attention, belonging, support. There is nothing inherently wrong with this. But many empaths learn to process emotions internally. They become highly reflective, highly self-aware, highly introspective. As a result, they require less external emotional maintenance than most people. This doesn't mean they don't need relationships. It means relationships serve a different purpose. They are looking for connection rather than emotional survival. That distinction changes everything. Because when you stop needing people, you become much more selective about who remains in your life. Another pattern appears in the way they handle conflict. Many people avoid conflict because it feels uncomfortable. Empaths often avoid unnecessary conflict because they can already see the emotional consequences. They understand how words affect people. They understand how resentment develops. They understand how misunderstandings grow. This heightened awareness sometimes causes them to withdraw instead of engage. From the outside, it may look passive, but internally, they are often calculating emotional outcomes. The challenge is that repeated withdrawal can slowly reduce social connections. Not because relationships are unwanted, because preserving peace becomes a priority. Many empaths also possess unusually high standards for friendship. This creates another misunderstanding. People assume they're difficult to please, but that's rarely the issue. The issue is depth. Once someone experiences a truly meaningful connection, superficial alternatives become less appealing. Imagine eating an incredible meal and then being asked to become excited about stale crackers. The comparison changes perception. The same thing happens socially. A person who values honesty, loyalty, curiosity, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness may struggle to find compatible friendships. Not because good people don't exist, because compatibility becomes increasingly specific. This naturally reduces the number of close relationships. You'll also notice that many empaths are highly observant during group interactions. They often spend more time watching than talking, more time analyzing than reacting, more time understanding than performing. While others compete for attention, they are gathering information. This creates a unique social dynamic. People frequently underestimate them. Quiet individuals are often assumed to know less. Yet observation creates knowledge. The empath frequently knows more about the group than the group knows about itself. They notice alliances, tensions, attractions, conflicts, insecurities, unspoken rules. Over time, this awareness can make large social environments feel predictable, and predictability often reduces excitement. Another trait is sensitivity to emotional dishonesty. Most people understand lying as verbal deception. Empaths often recognize another form of dishonesty, emotional dishonesty, saying you're fine when you're not, pretending to care when you don't, projecting confidence while feeling insecure, performing happiness while carrying resentment. These contradictions create psychological friction. The empath notices the mismatch. And once again, maintaining relationships becomes harder. Not because people are imperfect. Everyone is imperfect. Because chronic emotional dishonesty creates distance. Trust requires congruence. Words and behavior must align. Intentions and actions must align. When alignment disappears, so does connection. Many empaths also carry an unusual amount of disappointment from the past. Not because they experienced more betrayal than everyone else, because they experienced it more deeply. They invest deeply. They care deeply. They trust deeply. And when those bonds break, the impact often remains longer than expected. This can create caution, not fear, caution. A person who repeatedly experiences emotional disappointment learns to become selective. Over time, the social circle becomes smaller, but the remaining relationships become stronger. One of the most important traits is that empaths often value quality over quantity. This sounds simple, but its implications are enormous. Many social systems reward quantity: more followers, more contacts, more acquaintances, more attention, more visibility. Empaths frequently move in the opposite direction. They seek depth, trust, meaning, authenticity, growth, mutual understanding. These priorities do not scale easily. You can maintain hundreds of acquaintances. You cannot maintain hundreds of deeply meaningful relationships. The emotional investment required becomes impossible. As a result, the empath naturally narrows focus. A few trusted relationships become more valuable than dozens of shallow ones. Another overlooked characteristic is their tendency to outgrow environments. As self-awareness increases, compatibility changes. Conversations change. Interests change. Values change. What once felt meaningful may no longer resonate. This creates a pattern of social evolution. Friendships based entirely on convenience begin to fade. Friendships based entirely on history begin to fade. Friendships based entirely on proximity begin to fade. Only relationships built upon genuine compatibility tend to survive. From the outside, this can appear lonely. From the inside, it often feels necessary. Because growth sometimes requires letting go of connections that no longer align with who you are becoming. The final trait may be the most important. Many empaths eventually realize they were never designed to fit into every social environment. They spent years trying, years adapting, years adjusting, years wondering why certain groups felt exhausting, years wondering why certain conversations felt empty, years wondering why they preferred a handful of meaningful relationships over endless social activity. Eventually, a realization emerges. The goal was never popularity. The goal was alignment. The goal was never collecting people. The goal was connecting with the right people. And once that distinction becomes clear, everything changes. The small social circle stops looking like a deficiency. It starts looking like a filter created by observation, emotional intelligence, authenticity, self-awareness, pattern recognition, selective trust, and a deep desire for genuine human connection, leaving only the relationships capable of surviving honesty, depth, consistency, mutual respect, emotional maturity, and the rare kind of understanding that makes a person feel truly seen, rather than merely surrounded by people.